so nice to be with you. So thank you so much for coming and for inviting me to this fantastic event. I love summer schools, and I know the importance of summer schools for creating new fields. And maybe why I'm invited here is not so much because of my professional knowledge in animal history, but maybe to tell you about the success story of how in Estonia, where we had our first summer school on environmental, on animal history 10 years ago. So how our success story from that point on started to develop. And I'm quite convinced that maybe the same can happen here in Portugal, and that you, dear students, you have the main role in this game. So I really hope that this summer school will inspire you in finding your own approach and your new ideas, and to make Portuguese environmental history new, and to create a new field. And this is actually the most exciting thing we can do as scholars, to do something new. So congratulations for being here, and congratulations for the organizer to do this great event. So thank you so much. Before I start to speak about animals, I have to take a step back and to speak about why we need history in the whole thing. You know, coming from the 21st century, we all are used to speak about animal rights and agency and what to do with animals, and where the borders between humans and animals. So we have other questions to solve at the moment. And the question is why we need history, and what is the competence we as historians can offer to the field. And I start with that because in the next slide, when we start to speak about what's going on in the Baltics, we can see a wide variety of how we use history, or with whom historians are cooperating in speaking about animals. So the question is what it is we can offer. So, and I think it's quite clear, our competence is clearly in speaking about change. We're all speaking about something was different before and is different now. So change is our main competence. And of course the change, not only in time, but all the changes between different societies, between different layers within societies, between different cultures. This is something, a competence we share with anthropologists, when we are just speaking at the same time. But what we can offer is, again, the understanding of what is time and what is change in time. And, of course, we have the competence of reading and interpreting historical sources. This is something other disciplines mainly do not have, or they have to gain later, just reading old handwritings or something like that. Again, geographists are doing that too, or literary scholars or something, so they have also the same competence, but they may not have other competences we have as historians. And this is mainly the reconstruction of historical structures or systems or something like that. And here, we are touching the very complicated field about historical truth. So it's a question, do we reconstruct some kind of historical true systems or constructions or structures, or is it our main aim to deconstruct contemporary myth about what the past might be? So what are we doing? And we are sharing the same thing with literary scholars when they are speaking about some literary texts from the 17th centuries or 15th centuries, and they're just speaking, interpreting what people thought about animals in that time. This has nothing to do with the reality. It has nothing to do with how people treated the animals, but it's all about their conception about what an animal could be or something like that, what they as humans are. But this has nothing to do with truth. And here, real historians might say, okay, we can leave that to literary scholars and think more about the real structures. But it's always a question of taste, how much we as historians go from the real story, whatever that is, to the imaginaries of society, of what we are. And I think this border is very hard to define, and it's all about what our own heart is telling us, and what kind of stories we want to tell in the end, and what kind of sources we have that are really fruity and tasty, and we love them. So what is the truth in history? Okay, let's leave it here. We don't have to go into that much more. What might be important for many historians is the question if history is all about national history. It's about the glory of the nation. And this is something that is really for Estonian history very important, as it has been a colonized country for many centuries, and independence and national states are the most important thing. So what to do with the national thing, and how to combine national thinking, national history with animal history. So this again is a very tricky endeavor, but maybe some words about that later. Yes, so about all that, it's the question at where do animals come into the game? Where and why for we need animals in history? For what we need them in the end? So what is the big narrative we have there where we could place them into the game? And here I think there are some answers offered, but actually you, the next generation, you are the ones who have to answer that question for yourself and to find new answers for that. I would say that we can see animals maybe as main drivers in all kinds of developments. You know, if you look into agriculture without animals, it's not doable, at least not in the Baltics. Maybe if you look at shippery and things like that, you don't need animals so much. But if you are on land, you need animals quite everywhere, just as a main source of power. Because the human body is not as powerful as horses are or oxen are. So you need them on the land just for creative power. You need for technological development, for all kind of other, for building houses or for what kind of things you need the animals, and of course for food. The other thing is that we always have the animals as an alter ego for human understanding. So we're always looking into the animal, we're looking into a mirror, asking ourselves who we are, where is the border between you and me, so who I am in the end. So asking about who's the animal is always asking who am I, who is the human in the end. So all of this leads us to an understanding maybe that we do not have only history at the table, but in many cases, in most cases I know, historians are cooperating in one or the other way with broader fields, academic fields, disciplines. And I think for early modern studies, we can't do without literary studies. Many of our sources are written ones and narrative ones, and those people who really knows about how to interpret narratives and what to do with written texts, these are literary studies. So we historians are actually not so good in interpreting texts. The competence of what to do with text lies in the field of literary studies. So if you have fantastic descriptions or even fantastic ego documents, letters or diaries or something like that, if you want to interpret them and use them as a source, it's always good to find your help to look at what literary studies are doing with some kinds of these texts, because they offer you the methods you need for really going into the depths. Not only finding the facts we are used to use as historians, but to find out how the story is constructed. So look out there. Of course, you can go, if you're, depending on your sources you use, you can go into art history. You were in the exhibition yesterday, you know perfectly about what I'm speaking here. So if you are interested in that, go there. If you're interested about religious constructions, then you have to look into religious studies or folkloristics if you want to combine it with oral history or folk history or think in old traditions in Portugal or something to understand what was going on in the early modern times. It might be necessary just to understand the whole field, and then you have to go to look there. Or if you're interested in archaeology, it's not enough to just look up into what art historians are doing, but really go and find what are the artifacts you find here, what are the bones you find here. If you're interested in animal bones, you might have archaeological collections, you might have this stuff you can interpret and use as sources. So historians are not alone, they are embedded in a field of other disciplines. And I think the most challenging for graduate students like you are is to find the right combination of sources and the right combination of methods and disciplines around you to bring together to create your own field. I think this is where things are really getting interesting. So I think I would like to encourage you to feel free and to take your methods from different fields and to combine them in an inspiring way. I think that's the way for success. But now let's jump a bit into Baltic history. Just here, picture a map. What I'm speaking about, the Baltic Sea is over there. These are the three Baltic countries: Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. These are the Scandinavian countries. Here's Russia, and so on. This is the period I'm speaking about. These are the narrow Baltic history. And this is really a very bad map here, but it's
you can use that one.
That one is better. Okay, that one's a bit better. Yeah. So you see the same picture actually from the 16th century, almost Magnus Carta Marina, where again here you can see Scandinavia, Norway.
It's okay. Yeah.
And the three Baltic countries should be here, some very unclear field, and here Moscow is beginning. So we're speaking about that one here. And on this card, if you're interested in old maps are really fun and are really, really nice. You can see all kinds of sea monsters here. So just Google Wikipedia or something, Olaf Magnus, Carta Marina, and you will see such lovely monsters you can't imagine. So it's really fun what's going on there. So, but the three Baltic countries, what do they have in common in animal history? I would say not so much, but there are some common things in speaking about history, and we just have to go quickly through that. So sorry for all misspellings and things I can see here. First of all, we have a colonial history, meaning that we otherwise, in comparison to Portugal, they were not free countries, but they gained their freedom and independence only in the 20th century. Before that, they were always under the rule of other countries. That led to a mixture of double colonization and triple colonization feelings in literary art, in conception, in speaking about animals, in speaking of manpower, in speaking about peasants. So we always have to take into consideration this feeling of being depressed and colonized by others, which makes another narrative than you have here in Portugal. Knowing that, we see the importance of national history when they gained again their independence. The glory of being, at last, finally having their own state. This is really the big master narrative. We had from the 1990s onwards. But after that, all thinking historians saw that actually the national frame is, it's leading us to nowhere. We need broader frames for that. And here is really the point where animals also come into the game, because, first transnational history was between maybe Russians and Estonians, or Germans and Estonians, or all those colonizers, how to bring together colonizers and colonized histories and to emmangle them to a new story. But if you go a step further, then you can really speak about others other than humans. And animals come into the game, how to combine that into the picture of how to make history. So I have to say that there is no common understanding about how to deal with animal history between the three Baltic states, because they all have their own national agenda and their own national problems and their own national backgrounds. And they all have different cooperation partners with whom they really love to deal. And this, the question, what kind of partners you use in the end, this is a so personal question that this is not a national question anymore and not a regional question. This depends on you as a researcher, with whom you fit and with whom you do not fit. So in Lithuania, I would say in the last 10 years or something, we have a clear development toward animal ethics. So they are really strong in that field. So everything concerning philosophy and ethics, which also has a bridge to history. They are strong with that. And they start to deal also with zooarchaeology, which is a quite new field within archaeology. So they have strength with that, but they have not put that together to an overall environmental or animal history. So their interest in animals are separated in different fields, in different disciplines. In Latvia, they have a quite strong school in zoosemiotics. So semiotics, this is a field of research that is highly theoretical. So semiotics actually mostly do not go into history. If you're not Yuri Lotman himself, the others actually do not do that, but they theorize about how humans and animals can, in the end, speak with one another. How this wovenness can look like and how to describe that in a theoretical way. So they do not have this historical thinking to go back, but they look at present things and look how to describe the cooperation between animals and humans. And in Latvia we have good literature studies and geography. So not only human geography, but also animal geography. So what about the reintroduced bisons or something like that? How bisons brought back to Latvia changed the whole ecosystem and how people change around them or something like that. So in Estonia, we have the thing that we have the same developments. We also have a very strong school of zoosemiotics and zooarchaeology, but we started to develop in the 2010 or something like that, when we founded the Center for Environmental History. We tried to bring all these together under the umbrella of environmental history, doing close cooperation with the ESEH and other European organizations, just offering in an umbrella. Here is the question, who is ruling the field? As always in other parts of Europe, is it environmental history or are we speaking about environmental humanities? These discussions are ongoing. If one wants to define the field, then others are not so happy about that. So how to bring different ambitions together and how to cooperate with them in the end. So this is the thing we are dealing right now. So the animal turn in Estonia, let's say so, was somewhere between 2000 and 2014. So in this period, animals really start rising in bordering disciplines in folkloristics and literature. Here we can see the starting point of zoosemiotic and zooarchaeologies. Animals and art really started to pop up. And this was all in the context of a new animal protection movement we also had in Estonia. So really, I would say the environment was ripe for going into the thing more deeper. So it's if you're testing out new grounds, it's always good to see what's going on around you. So is it ripe for your development or not at the time and the society around you? So in 2013, we had the first international graduate seminar, something like that here. And that was with the RCC in Munich and with other cooperation partners within Estonia. And after that, this was the most inspiring thing. And after that, we had a series of animal study, animal history seminars. And after that, actually, the developments really took place. So then it shooted out in having animal history in our lectures, classes on animal history, first master students, PhD students. So after that, actually, all the processes started. I will speak about that too. So here just a picture about our zooarchaeological collection at Tallinn University. This is one of the largest collections we have in Estonia. This is the largest collection. I do not know about collections like that in Portugal. You definitely have them, and there are definitely colleagues working on that. So you might think about, if you're speaking about early modern times, to visit them and to see what kind of material they have there for your work. Actually, these things are really cool, what they have. And what archaeologists are offering us, we do not have this competence as historians in humanities. They are really closely cooperating with sciences, and they're doing all this real stuff, this hard stuff, hard analysis, to measure how old or what diseases the animals had or whatsoever. So here you can really use other techniques and other methodologies that we don't have. So it's worth cooperating, just looking at what's going on there. I said in 2013 we had the first graduate school or summer school. We also named it summer school. But actually, single lectures on animal history started already in 2012. After that, we really had different bachelor theses. These are all things I conducted myself, because in other universities we do not have environmental history. There we have different things going under the umbrella of semiotics, zoosemiotics, but they have their own approaches again. So they do not look into history. They have other things to speak about. So in history, it's mainly what I have been doing. So here just some things about slaughterhouses and horses in the wars and animal welfare, hunting, things like that appeared. And as you see, the more bachelor students you have, then you have master students, then you have PhD students. This is the thing, how it goes in the end. And it's really cool how bachelor thesis actually can inspire PhD students to find their own way. So I think it's a cross-fertilizing way. So the more people you have to think in your own field, the more good ideas are coming, and the more materials you find. So look out for what's going on the bachelor level. It's quite amazing from time to time what's going on there. So from here, from teaching, from creating that field at universities, we saw a step into the public, and that took place actually in the 2020s. So knowing that all exhibitions need a lot of time to be prepared, so actually you can add always some 3 years, 4 years times before when you start developing an exhibition. So these are long-term things to make. So we had first exhibitions on Estonian environment, together with the question of animal-human diseases, the spread of animal-human diseases in history. In that permanent exhibition that was opened in 2021. Then we had 2 exhibitions only about historical animals. One was about the hoofed and feathered animals in Tallinn, middle and early modern times. These were shorter exhibitions in COVID times. You can imagine that actually there were not many people visiting these things. And another one about pets, just cats and dogs in art history, which was very popular also in COVID times, but it was very, very popular. And I think you will, again, have similar things to offer and much more. If you look into fisheries or something, you can easily think about nice exhibitions to create and to make. And in the end, this is the last thing we made, is an exhibition, Art in the Time of the Anthropocene, that asked about animals also in different ways. So animals were not very hard, but they were all the time. So this is the first painting about a Estonian cow. This is the very first one we have in history. So this is a indigenous breeding and Estonian breeding made in Soviet times, in early Soviet times, but this is our red cow here. Here it is. Portuguese people, please adore it. And of course, what we had is really the cooperation with contemporary artists, asking more deeper questions through their artwork about the connection between animals and history and humans. So, and I personally found these things the most inspiring, because through art you can you find another language to speak about certain things than we have when we just writing our quite dry kind of stories in the end. So here we have, this is just for us to get some inspiration and to ask deeper questions. So this is about fishery, as you can understand. From here, so this is really about outreach, museums are about outreach, how you can broaden the field and to bring your academic interest to your grandmother and your children or something like that. And it works perfectly well. Animals always work, and I would encourage you, if you have some colleagues or some cooperations with museums or something, go for exhibitions. They are horrible to make. It takes a lot of time, but you really get an understanding about your museums, your collections. So the collections are the number one thing to go for. What you have actually, what do you have? What is hidden in the stores of your different museums? You will not see never if you not go there and look for them. So the public pictures are the things you already know in public. This is just 5% of what the museums have. You have to go into this, into the stuff and look what they store there. And there you might find also great material for your work and great things, to look for it. But you go there and look what they have, what you can find. So, but here I want to go a bit more into research, science and research. Here I have to stress this, our Environmental Center Animals seminar series that took place somewhere between 2014 and 2017, that really brought us in the end to a collected volume. You can just let it run, if you're interested in. Here you find a not very classical collection of animal histories. So we had some a broad understanding about what history is, combining also literary studies, speaking about werewolves and things, the importance of griffins in Estonian Bronze Ages or something like that. So we had really a broad understanding, a broad definition who we are as historians. But it really depends on you how broad you want to be. And this depends, of course, on how much sources you have. So here we come to the very bad story that we in the Baltics, for us early modern times, were the most horrible times at all. We had just wars and a total collapse, one collapse after the other, of society and demographic conditions and things like that. So there was no time and no resource and no power to create good sources. So this is not comparable on what you have here. So these were your golden ages in the end. So it depends on if you have enough sources to be strict in your discipline, or if you actually, out of the need to tell a story at all, you have to broaden competences and to become a bit more flexible. But you may do that step toward the other disciplines also because you just love it, because you always had been an interest in whatever, and then just try it and do it. So in the last time, again, being a blossom of the further steps I told you about. A couple of books came out. This is this edited volume is one I did with my colleagues. There is another book. This is just in Estonian. This is about Baltic animals in medieval art and society. So this is not so much about modern early modern times, but it's also a very nice thing. And we can see a clear spread not only about animal history within historians, the discipline of history. I think this is already, by now, this is quite settled. You know, it's normal to do that, and it's normal for a student to do that. This is okay. But we can see that also the other disciplines, as animal anthropology or something like that, this is really starting to blossom right now. So we can really see if one discipline is doing a certain step, then it has influence on the other disciplines around. And then again, you know, the field develops, which is so nice to see. I love to see that. So every step has influence on the field. Your single student work has an influence on developing the field, and this is pretty. I want to empower you really in going on. So, just a few words about animals then in Baltic early modern history. So, where are the animals there then? As I told you before, we have not so much sources. And the sources we have, they're all horrible. They're all speaking about death, decline, and all kind of horrible things, because even in the upper classes, in the Baltic German upper classes, we had not a flourishing time at all. So it's not comparable with other countries, not with France, not with Portugal, not with Germany. So it was really hard. What we have is a clear comparison between animals with the colonized peasants, with the Estonians, Latvians, Lithuanians. This is something we have all the time. And here again, we can use the thinking of who we are as Germans, as animals, who we are as humans, and where start the other? Is the other a human or is the other an animal? Who are we as humans? Who are we? Who we speak about us and the other? So here, questions like that really we have in the sources. We have a lot of spooky things. We have a lot of werewolves. These are really the top animal, I would say, in early modern literature we have, and in a lot of sources. And of course, trials also. So I think the last werewolf trial we had in the 19th century, I guess it was in the mid of the 19th century. So these were really court cases. And interesting enough, they were mostly women who became werewolves, not men. So this is a very feminine story and can be interpreted in different gendered ways. What we have, of course, is animal and medicine. The whole question, not only in human medicine, but also in veterinary medicine. So how to heal, how to treat diseases, and how to use animals for that. Where are diseases come from? You know, all the kind of questions: who's to be who's guilty for diseases, and how to heal them. You know, just one example is cat magic and allergies. You know, it's in this edited volume going around there. There's a very nice story about that, about the understanding that cats are bringing all bad is quite connected with early modern allergies against the cats. So there again, you can combine so-called old knowledge and old mysterious and so-called thinking together with new medical approaches, and this again brings nice stories. What we have is a story about pet and animal keeping and breeding. Of course, hunting also. But as we did not have such a live court life, we did not have large courts. So this story is about hunting and big fishing and big things like that. It's ridiculous in Estonia. Actually, we do not have that. But we have at least some small stories about the first papagoys coming to Estonia. Something like that we can do. Magic thinking, taboos definitely are a big story. You know, what can we do with animals? Starting with the point of what animals can we eat and what animals we can't eat. And this is very different if we speak about the different nations and groups we had in the Baltics. So for Estonians peasants, who actually were most of the time just dying in hunger because they just had nothing to eat, they had the strongest taboos. and were not ready to eat. Examples, different species of singing birds, Baltic upper classes were eager to eat. So it's just a question, why the hell dying people who are starving do not eat things? They are there. It's really a mystery, but it's the taboos can be so strong, it's unbelievable. So we have to take them serious, just they're out there. Speaking about what we can do and what we should not do with animals, brings us to the question of sodomy, which was a widespread phenomenon, I think, throughout the ages, but we have a quite good number of court cases about that. And that brings us, if you look into the narratives at the court, brings us again to the question of what is actually the agency of the animal. Is the agency actually wanting the man to sex with them, and who at the end should be burned? And actually the cows and horses are burned the same way as the man because they were co-blamed. They had the same guilt. So through documents like that, we can really enter into discussions we have today and try to encode them with or decode them with our present-day understandings. But just the understanding that sodomy has been a very normal thing in peasant societies all over the world, I guess. This is something if you have interest, you might find also sources for that here. And of course, the very wide field of animals in religion and art. You find them quite everywhere. You find them in churches, on paintings. You find everywhere cats, birds, mice, all kind of animals, and they all have their meaning. They are not put it there, just because the painter loved them, but they all were connected with the saints. They all had their story to tell. So this is something that really art historians are good in interpreting, because you have to know all the religious stories behind them to interpret the stories in the end. And this is actually mostly a knowledge historians mostly do not have. At least in Estonia, we lost our stories, our knowledge about Catholic narratives and the whole imaginary behind that. So in order to understand something, you have to have the knowledge about what you speak. So, yes, as I said before, early modern times were a horrible time here. There's no flourishment at all. It was actually all about the fight between Estonian peasants and the German upper classes under different political rules. Speaking about history not in a national way or not in a not only social way, but opening it to deeper questions about man and environment, this is really a very recent development, and we are on our way to do that. I think what is the most important for me, at least from the Baltic experience, is that the early modern times for me are most exciting for their combination of religious myths and early sciences. So for us, it's not the time of discovery. This is for you. This is your story. Our story is how to combine myth and early sciences. And here, animals are coming in all kind of ways. We have sermons on why the white rabbits are white in the winter. So what is the logic behind that? So to find interpretations about what is going on in nature, or how to think about that. Is it just God's will, or is there some other roots behind that? It's all connected with climate and early measurements and early experiments and things like that. So I think this is the most intriguing thing. So to find the combination between early science and magical thinking, which is so much connected. So thank you. I think that's it.
Thank you so much.